bring you here. We're going to join it in progress in the middle of game number one. It's between Shi Tian and Jan Merkel. Mono green aggro somehow in the hands of Shi Tian is a control, as we've seen a few times today in the hands of Jan. Cedric, I know that you can appreciate a good mono green stompy deck as much as anybody. How did Lee come to this conclusion? Nobody else is even close to this list.
You know, I don't have a great answer to that particular question, but I'm glad that he did is all that I can say. Look, there was a point in time, right, when Adventures in the Forgotten Realms came out that we were talking a lot about Werewolf Pack Leader and Ranger Class as being huge additions for mono green. And like, okay, you know, and people tried that, and there was some success there earlier in the format, but then people kind of iterated on things and found a way to beat this deck because as powerful as these cards are, it's pretty straightforward in what the deck does. So if you want to address the strategy, you can address and beat the strategy pretty easily given how linear it is. However, as people were preparing for this event, no one was thinking about mono green, right? You're thinking about all the adventure strategies. Izzet Control, Jeskai Mutate, all these other decks, and it's like, well, no one's really going to play mono white or mono red as the aggressive weapons of choice. I'm sure no one even thought of mono green as an aggressive weapon of choice. Yet here we are, Lee doing what Lee has always done a pretty good job of, which is kind of finding an unorthodox aggressive strategy to play that ideally people are not expecting. And here we are.
That's right. And we are underway here in game number one. You can see the board for Shi Tian is Heart's Desire token, currently looks like it wants to attack Faceless Haven, a Swarm Shambler, and a Yespera Sentinel. It's facing down a Bone Crusher Giant. But of note, Jan does also have a Treasure token as well as an Omen of the Sea there.
That's a pretty big hit.
Gets in for 6. That's a double trigger off of 2 Ranger classes sitting over there by the library for Shi Tian, and that is a huge hit. Down to 8 goes Jan.
How about a third one? How about no? I mean, Cure Best the Sea God has a way of changing the texture of a game, but you can say the same thing about Primal Might, too. So this one could get a little bit interesting here because we saw in the matchup against Kai where Kiora Best of Sea God is one of the best things, if not the best thing, that this Izzet Control deck does bring to the table against Mono Green. But Lee's done a really nice job of kind of going wide here and can kind of work his way around the big 8/8 that powerful Saga makes.
Right. He also has, even given no ability to get through, this is part of the reason why Jan really wants to keep Bone Crusher on the battlefield too, is that next turn, the Faceless Haven will be big enough to trade off with the 8/8 on the attack. I mean, it is going to get absolutely out of hand thanks to the 2 copies of Ranger class, both of them leveled up 1. Okay.
It's a pretty big draw. Curious if Jan's maybe thinking about sacrificing Omen of the Sea on the upkeep for a scry. Pretty deep in the tank right now. Okay, so actually we're going to see Lee activate Swarm Shambler. All right, so he's fully tapped out. Doesn't change a ton. And now there's a River Glide Pathway. Okay.
Sure. And there it is. Hey, what else are you going to do? Cure Best of Sea God. That's kind of the big top end for the deck. He's got a 4/3 and an 8/8, and he says, come at me. I've got 8 life. I'm not going to be doing anything else.
Yeah, what's your best attack right now? Even with Primal Might in considerations, Primal Might would be for 4. So I guess you can make it for 5 if you want to and make Swarm Sampler into a 7/7. That's not big enough. And then, Chapter 2 on Cure Best the Sea God is going to start to rear its
Wouldn't
ugly.
a Shambler be just big enough?
So let's see.
So
you do
plus
it,
4 is 6 plus 2 counters from the Ranger class is
from the
8/8?
Yeah. I guess that's true. I mean, so you can do Might for 5 right now, right? Because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lands plus your Spare Sentinel and a token. So you can do it for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make it a 7/7. You can make it into a 9/9.
You can
force a double block. Well, I guess it doesn't force a double block. No, it would force. Yeah, because then you just fight the Bone Crusher Giant. Yeah, actually, I think this plays good, right?
That looks really good.
Yeah, that looks really good. So yeah, so this could be Might for 5, kill Bone Crusher, attack, 2 triggers from Ranger's class. That's a 9/9 into an 8/8. The Swarm Shambler will trade with the Kraken token because there's damage on it from the fight, but
hey, that's no board state left over.
Yeah.
For Jan. And yeah, you're going to have to work your way through Kiorabeth the Sea God, but I'm looking over at the Faceless Haven sitting over there.
I see you, Mono Green.
Yeah, this is going to get interesting because these are going to trade off, and then we're going to see Yorion next turn, and that means additional Kiorabeth the Sea God Kraken hitting the battlefield, and Jan actually has the luxury of casting Expressive Iteration first as well.
He's doing pretty good right now. That was a good turn there for Lee, but things are still going to be pretty difficult. And, well, they're not getting any easier.
Wow. He sees Shark Typhoon and Kiorabeth the Sea God plus a mountain off of this iteration. He's not going to be able to hang on to the Shark Typhoon because he's just going to need to affect the board here. He has 2 options. He can just cast another Kiorabeth the Sea God, or he could go for Yorion, which would get him the same effect, but also get him a card off of Omen plus some selection. That's got to be tempting. It's a little less mana efficient, but he will get a card back and maybe even could spend that mana.
Yeah, this is a pretty juicy turn right here.
Whew. This is a sweet game. Really, really close between these two. Field of Ruin, boy, slow, but man, he does want access to that type of effect, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
It's also interesting because he already played a land off of the Expressive Iteration, so it won't be on the battlefield this turn. He wouldn't have been able to activate it anyway, but Lee doesn't know about it that way. Okay, here's Faceless Haven. Now this is going to end up being an 8/7.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a must block.
Yep, and that's a lethal attacker. But when you know that you have another Kiorabeth the Sea God in hand, you're happy to just go, all right, I'll trade this 8/8 with your 8/7 instead of doing some sort of chump blocking or anything.
Right. It's funny because normally just one Kiorabeth the Sea God is enough to get the job done, but here it might take 3.
Yeah, and we're actually seeing Jan maybe reconsider. Is it worth maybe something like a double block here or anything like that? And it just looks like a single block.
Jan has the ability to close out the game very, very quickly with huge 8/8 Krakens, and also his creature lands down there can add in a ton of extra damage. Ooh, it looks like he is going to chump block with Yorion here.
Okay.
Interesting. Jan trying to set up for a victory. He's not interested in survival. He's interested in winning.
Yep. Very much like Kai. When we saw Lee's last opponent, Kai was playing to win in an aggressive manner. It looks like Jan is doing something similar here.
It's interesting because now having this extra 8/8 around, he'll have another one next turn potentially, is kind of a big deal. The Field of Ruin gets to take down the Faceless Haven that has the 4+1/+1 counters on it from the Ranger classes. And then the remaining Fields of Ruin can't get big enough just from those Ranger classes to get through the Kraken. They'll only get up to 6 power, even with the 2+1/+1 counters. So that 8/8 probably here to stay.
Yeah, I think so.
And that just isn't true if this Faceless Haven gets to attack again, because then it just actually is bigger. All right, so tap down. These poor Ranger classes got tapped down twice.
It's kind of wild, right? When you think of Kiorabeth the Sea God, you think of primarily Sultai Ultimatum and nothing else, and it being put on the battlefield via an Emergent Ultimatum. You don't really think of it all that often as just being like just 7 mana, awesome enchantment that people can cast. And well, in this matchup, it is an awesome 7 mana enchantment. You can see Lee's reaction. He was already having difficulty with the first one. He does.
Wait till he sees this Field of Ruin. He's going to be real unhappy. No.
Yeah. It went from bad to worse.
It really did. I think once Jan attacked with the 8/8, you're probably like, oh no, this is not going to end well for me. And you see him wincing in pain there as Jan Merkel has now added double 8/8s to the battlefield. And any two creatures getting through would be lethal for him. Oh, man, Lee hating this. He's hating every second of it.
So I guess the thought process is Gem Razor is actually not that bad of a draw, I don't think. I guess the question is what's the best thing I can do to get myself out of this sticky situation? So you can start by playing a Swarm Shambler, because now what you need to do is you need to blow up the Cure Best of Sea God that's going to go to Chapter 2 and tap down all your stuff, right?
That's
so
right.
You have the opportunity to block. So I think the iterations that we're going through right now is I guess I play Swarm Shambler, and then I blow it. I Gem Razor onto that, and I probably lose from you taking the creature from the Chapter 3 of the other Cure Best of Sea God that's hanging around, and so there's just no meaningful way to get himself out of that situation, and so Lee looks like he's just going to concede, and does.
Yeah, it's kind of tough because you're facing down the situation where you're going to either lose one of your things or you're going to have everything tapped down, and both of those equal death. So that's going to be a concession from Shi Tian as we see Jan Merkel pick up game number 1. It's a stressful matchup for sure. There is no, Jan doesn't get to just sort of hang back and do his thing. For the most part, Lee is going to be hammering you. There's going to be a lot of pressure, and it's going to be close. Once the Cure Best of Sea God started flowing, now things got a lot better there for Jan. And it's just hard to get to that point in the game against such an aggressive deck.
It is. I'm loving seeing Mono Green in action right now. This matchup has been a really, really good one to watch. I mean, it's kind of traditional in a weird sense, but it's a linear aggressive deck against a blue-red control deck that's just looking to kind of answer, play a win condition, and the green deck's trying to cross the finish line. One of the things that I think, Marshall, is really impressive about Lee's performance this weekend is, one, bringing a deck that no one else is bringing and succeeding with it, but two, he didn't play this deck much coming in, man.
Really?
Much at all. I'm talking close to 0 games played coming into the tournament, but if you follow Lee's career at all, which I have quite a bit because he likes aggressive decks quite a bit, he's someone who's been playing aggressive decks for an extremely long time. So though he didn't play a ton of games with this deck coming into the event, it's kind of second nature for him to be playing aggressive strategies like this at a very high level.
Wow. Didn't get to practice much. That's incredible.
But when you got good friends who believe in something that you feel like you can trust, do it. That's what I say.
That must be nice. Lee's got Ranger class on the battlefield, but thus far has not been able to stick any threats. He's had a Wolf token killed, and then he had a Kazandu Mammoth get countered. Now there's a Questing Beast on the stack, and it looks like Disdainful Stroke is going to take care of that. So Lee's kind of in that unenviable position when you're the heavy creature deck, and it feels like they just have an answer for everything you've done. So far, 3 for 3 there for Jan. Of course, taking a look at Ranger class there, as that could become relevant in just a little bit.
And that's a key thing that Lee actually has left on the battlefield, right? The plan is, I'm going to cast some stuff, and ideally, your answers don't line up appropriately. Thus far, all of Jan's answers have lined up beautifully. And now he's casting Expressive Iteration to probably find a copy of Mind Flayer, which is another answer, and then some against a mono green strategy. So this is getting pretty tough here for Lee. Rangers class is going to have to be working overtime to catch him back up.
Yeah, and it is a slow process. He hasn't even got the first level on it yet. So, he's 6 mana away from having that thing start to go. Now, he does have one more play he can make with the Werewolf Pack Leader. He also has Faceless Haven. So he's not out of gas just yet, but he's getting there.
Yeah. Another great addition to green-based strategies. Werewolf Pack Leader, huge fan of this card. There's your Ranger class level up.
Your move.
Yeah, it ain't going to be easy.
Fabled Passage can get cracked here for Jan Merkel on end step, but boy, that Mind Flayer is a real problem. And you can see he doesn't feel that Shark Typhoon is going to be a big part of the equation, just needs to keep digging for land drops, and somehow he has missed. Now, he could still hit one here, but it means he doesn't get to cast Mind Flayer this turn.
Yeah, it's quite a few looks at it, right? You cycled, you drew your card for the turn, now here's Expressive Iteration. Okay, well, there's the lands. That's what was missing. So that won't be a problem. And this is notable, right? We're kind of laughing at a little bit of the unluckiness there for Jan of not hitting the 5th land, so he could, go 5th land Mind Flayer, but Finding land number 5 and 6 there does a beautiful job of bridging the gap to get you closer to land number 7 for Kiora Best of Sea God. And if the last game was any indication, that card's lights out against mono green.
Right. Okay, well, lands galore here for Jan Merkel. He's now sees another one on top of the library, which he's actually going to keep this time.
Yeah,
he does have more land drops to hit to get up to that Kiora Best of Sea God that you just mentioned, Cedric. So he's going to keep them.
Yeah, I'm totally in favor of that because that's land number 6. It's going to need to be tapped, sure, but your next play is kind of rolled up already, which is I'm just going to play a Mind Flayer, and then my next land is going to enter the battlefield tapped, and then land number 7 plus Kiora Best of Sea God, excuse me. So his plays are kind of scripted right now, I guess I'd say, for lack of a better term. But this is a game changer. This one here in the Great Henge.
This
is something that Lee really needed, right? Like, he's got some sticky permanents on the battlefield right now, and he's going to need some darn good draw steps, Marshall, but this is where it starts.
That's true. He needs to see creatures start to come off the top of the library because Mind Flayer can come down next turn, steal a creature, and leave Shi Tian with just the Faceless Haven as far as creatures go. If he can draw creatures, he is in great shape, though, because he can get the Great Henge rolling, plus that also turns on the Ranger class that he's got, and he could really start to propel himself forward. First things first, though, Mind Flayer on the stack now for Jan Merkel, and he is going to steal the pack leader and leave Shi Tian with just the Faceless Haven left over. This is big. Creatures would be great, and it's a forest off the top.
Not good.
Boy, with all that mana available, this is where Shi Tian just wants to rip a creature and chain a couple of them together, and that's going to have to wait till next turn.
Well, we just put the Ranger class.
Did he find a creature with it? He did.
Yeah.
Werewolf Pack Leader, that's going to draw him a card. He finds Primal Might.
That's good. That's good.
He sees Questing Beast on top of the battlefield, on top of his library as well.
Yep, because now you can Primal Might and kill the Mind Flayer, get your Werewolf Pack Leader back, and, hope that your opponent doesn't have Kiora Best of Sea God. But we're not going to worry about that.
Yeah, don't worry about that
We're not going to worry about that right now.
Wow.
So the thing that Lee's got going for him right now is he's basically got like an overflow of stuff going on now, right? Because he's got the Great Henge and he's got Ranger class all the way juiced up. So he can just top cards of the deck, assuming, he doesn't run in like land, he can just go vroom, 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 and just keep it going and going and going and going. And these creatures are going to be bigger than Cinderclasm, bigger than Stomp, like all that other stuff. So now you just kind of got to manage around Kiora Best of Sea God, which I am underselling a little bit, how easy that kind of is to do. But that's what he's got to do now, is work himself around like all the chapters of this card and the fact that it's making 8/8s. That's what the goal is now.
That's right. And you can see, though, here comes Questing Beast. That's going to draw him a card. That's going to put Lovestruck Beast in hand. He doesn't have one on top, but if he does decide to attack with the pack leaders, he will draw a couple of cards off of that as well. Interesting interaction as well. He can turn those pack leaders into 5/3 tramplers, but then if he gets counters from Ranger class on, then they get even bigger, although not quite big enough here, it seems.
So now you have to kind of ask yourself about, like, what are your attacks going to look like if you just want to say, I'm willing to throw one of these creatures into the garbage to keep doing my thing. Like attack with everybody, triggers. I know you're going to eat one of them, but I'm still just going wide and drawing a ton of cards. Starting to run into the old land thing that I was getting a little bit worried about. But if you're going to draw lands, at least you're drawing Faceless Haven, excuse me. So this isn't so bad. Triggers, draw cards, doing okay.
Yeah, he's actually doing fine. He's going to get a couple more cards into hand. Ranger class gets to throw something on, it looks like Questing Beast at the end of the day.
Storm Shambler's good.
Yeah, he can cast that this turn as well, get another card and keep the train rolling. Down to 6 goes Jan Merkel, and as he eats up one of the pack leaders, but is he just overwhelmed here? It looks like it.
Now, for Jan, his next turn, depending on what the draw step is, but his next turn is somewhat scripted, insofar as he can just go, add your into my hand, cast it, blink stuff out, right?
Right.
That's the most clear-cut option for the turn, regardless of draw step. Draw step might change some things, but that's the easy part.
That's right. He'll get to chapter 2 here on Kiora Best of Sea God. That'll lock down the team for now.
Ooh, that's actually There's a small thing that might be important there. The fact that it's also locking down the Great Henge.
Okay.
Feels like it might matter because the life that Lee is gaining from the Great Henge, we're in increments of 8 right now as far as damage is concerned. So you're down to 16. You're getting another 8/8 right now. So you'd actually prefer to be at 18.
Yes. 17, 18, anything above divisible by 8 would be really nice. In the meantime, there is Yorion coming down. That's going to blink your best Sea God, get another 8/8, and blink the Omen of the Sea. It ended up turning into bottom into a land, so not great there for Jan. And there's Primal Might on top of the library here for Lee. He doesn't actually have a creature to get.
So, does he have no way to draw that card? Okay, so we can cube Faceless. We can cube Faceless Haven. Hasn't played a land yet for the turn. Chariot, I don't think changes any aspect of this game.
Can he double Haven here? Yes, not. Yes, he can. No, not quite. Can he? He's got a total of 9.
Okay, so the
passes the turn.
Yeah, so the plan right now is Haven's on defense to do some jump blocking.
Has to be.
I think Jan is just wondering if he wants to again sacrifice Omen of the Sea on upkeep for a Scry 2. Ooh, that's really good.
So he found a second copy of Cinderplasm here? Wow.
That's really good in a weird way. That's really good. Okay, so let's see.
Yeah.
So so let's see. 1, 2, Field of Ruin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so Jan should be able to, I believe, attack with everything. You go to activate a Faceless Haven to chump, Field of Ruin that. Then you go to activate, okay, so you float your mana, activate the other Faceless Haven, and then I think it's just
double Cinder.
Yeah, double Cinder with kicker. I guess Cinder once with kicker, other Cinder no kicker. No blocks.
That works. Stomp is fine. Like, pick your poison.
I think that's game over right now.
I do. I think Jan Merkel has this lined up. He is attacking with everything, so it looks like he sees it as well. Let's see what happens. Here's Field of Ruin to take out the Faceless Haven that is being woken up here.
It's brutal because Lee was really starting to get something going here with the Great Henge and the Ranger class of just starting to spew everything on the battlefield. Man, is Cure Best the Sea God good in this matchup?
Cure Best the Sea God dominant both games. I mean, it did take multiples to get the job done, but that's kind of one of the upsides you get with this list that was originally made by Noriyuki Mori. This is an adapted version for this tournament, but it has a lot of the same cards in it, including Cure Best the Sea God.
So now this is going to be Stomp there.
And then just Cinder.
I believe so. No, well, does he have enough mana that if you kill this one, you get to activate the other one in block?
No, not quite.
Are we short to do that? I think there's enough, right?
Because like one more, right? Oh, you're right, Cedric.
Yeah, so he can use this Faceless Haven.
Yeah.
To activate the other Faceless Haven before blocks.
Boy, really important that he activated the non-summoning sick one here as well.
No, that's enormous. Okay, so now you float snow mana, snow, block an 8/8, say 12. And then do you actually get to win this game? Yeah, because you can't Clasm this one away.
You can Clasm. That would the other Clasm being non-kicked.
Oh, but it looks like the creatures aren't going to untap. Okay.
Right, the Cure Best the Sea God did get reset, so this is no way to attack here. And that was all 3 of the Faceless Havens dying just to keep Li Shi Tian at 4 life. Also, Bone Crusher Giant comes down after combat, and Jan just puts his hands together and says, "What do you got, buddy?"
Okay, so now, is there any way to be able to block 3 creatures on the ground? This is asking a lot. Block 3 creatures on the ground and get yourself above 4.
Well, you can cast Great Henge number 2.
Okay.
That will replace the other one. It'll only cost you 3 mana, and that gets you 2 life and then 2 of the mana back. And then, of course, you can make Isika's Chariot.
Right.
Was that enough?
So you're up to 6?
The answer is kind of just no, right?
I'm thinking the answer is no.
2 blockers, 1 for each, 8/8, but you
Yep.
take 8, and that's going to be the good game. And Jan Merkel shows some emotion for us there. The big fist pump from him as he gets by Li Shi Tian in a very stressful match.